Hello, 7th graders. We are going to look at some word problems and how we can write an inequality to represent a situation, and then go ahead and also solve that. So our first problem, Ian needs to save at least $85 for a new pair of basketball shoes. He has $25 in his piggy bank and can save $12 from his allowance each week. How many weeks will Ian need to save to earn at least $85? So a couple of things. One of the first things we're going to look for is what our variable is going to actually be representing here. So the question is asking how many weeks. So our variable will be representing weeks. So we could use W. It doesn't need to be W, but we want to make sure that we know what our variable is representing. So in this case, it's going to tell us how many weeks he needs to save. Okay. Then when we actually come up with our inequality, there's a couple of things we want to pay attention to. Number one, we're going to look for some keywords to help us write that inequality. So we need at least $85. So when I read that, I know that I have some value has to be at least or greater than or equal to $85. So I have this part now. So when I continue reading, he has $25 in his piggy bank and can save $12 from his allowance each week. Anytime we see any kind of rate that's repeatedly happening, like each week or per week, per person, something like that, this is usually going to be where we're having some kind of multiplication happening in our expression. So $12 each week. We know our W is weeks, okay? So I know that right now he has $25 plus he's going to have this $12 per week. So I'm going to write that as 12W, okay? Because if he saved for 2 weeks, then he would save $12 times 2 and then add on that $25 he already had, okay? So here's our inequality. If I wanted to rewrite this with my variable first, I could. And then we would go ahead and we would start our solving. So right now my variable is locked in with that 12. So I need to subtract off the $25 I already have first. And so 12W is greater than or equal to 60. I can divide by 12. And W is going to be greater than or equal to 5. Okay, let's go back to what we knew that our variable was representing. W is standing for weeks. So what this means is it's going to take him at least 5 weeks to raise that money and save that money. So we would have a closed circle at 5, arrow to our right. The vet told Sarah that her dog should weigh at most 70 pounds. Her dog weighs 106 pounds, so Sarah set a goal that he would lose 4 pounds per week. How many weeks will it take for Sarah's dog to weigh 70 pounds or less? So again, I'm going to look for some keywords that are going to tell me an inequality here first. So I see at most 70 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and set that part up. So I know that at most 70 pounds. Oops, scratch that, sorry. First, let's figure out what our variable is representing. This one, again, is asking how many weeks. All right, and so again, I'm just going to use a W for weeks. So we want to know how many weeks does Sarah's dog need to be losing weight. So now I'm going to go back to the at most 70 pounds. I know that that's going to be a less than or equal to symbol. So we need to be at most 70, so less than or equal to 70. Right now, her dog is starting at 106 pounds. And then because he's going to be losing 4 pounds per week, again, we have a rate going on here. And so this is going to indicate our multiplication. So 4 pounds per week, I'm going to represent that as 4W. And because the dog is losing 4 pounds per week, it's actually going to be minus 4W. And so When I go to solve this, I would first subtract my 106 from both sides. And I'm going to end up with negative 36 and negative 4w. So that zeroed out. And then I'm going to be dividing by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. I know negative 36 divided by negative 4 is positive 9. Over here, negative 4 divided by negative 4, 1's out. But then, because I divided by a negative, that also means I need to flip my inequality. So this one ends up being w is greater than or equal to 9. So when you have a word problem and you're trying to set up an inequality, you want to figure out what your variable is representing. What you're going to write your inequality and use those keywords to help you, and then you solve your inequality.